Are you a cat lover who loves the idea of owning your own cat cafe? Then this is the podcast for you. Join me, Angeli Rodriguez, owner of the Woody Whisker Cat Cafe and author of the book Drinks and Whiskers, as I walk you through my tips and tricks to help you open a successful cat cafe. Are you ready? Let's do this. Hi, everyone, and welcome to the Drinks and Whiskers podcast, the place to be to get the inside scoop on what it's like to open and run a successful cat cafe. I'm your host, Angeli Rodriguez, and I am so excited to introduce today's guest on the podcast, Debbie Cedar. Debbie is the owner of the Deland Cat Cafe in Deland, Florida. Welcome to the show, and thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. I'm so excited to finally meet you, like in person, digitally, but first things first, I would just want to know how you got started rescuing cats.
Well, I knew I wanted to work with animals. I just didn't know exactly how to do it. And I knew I definitely wanted to work with cats, mainly because my dog of over 10 years passed. And so I wasn't ready to deal with dogs at the time.
Right.
And I love cats. I love both cats and dogs. And so I started basically volunteering with local rescues. And then, started meeting people through there. I was a groomer for a little bit for obviously both, mainly dogs, but also every once in a while long-haired cats and, cutting cats' nails, things like that people don't want to do.
Right.
And that was really hard. I did a little bit of TNR, which I thought was even harder. I worked a lot being kind of like the cat lady in my neighborhood and just helping some people in my neighborhood that would just find we have a lot of strays. And so helping them out, getting them fixed, helping with adoptions, etc. So I was already little by little meeting people who doing rescue work, things like that, and just trying to figure out where I fit in. So that was my kind of like my first start. And then being in Florida, there's so many cat cafes. And so I'm originally from Miami. So I would drive to Miami, and my daughter and I, we, to put on maps, cat cafe near me and go to one.
Nice.
And that's when I was just like, I think that this would be something good in our town, in our city.
Yeah, that's fantastic. That's so wonderful. I'm so excited to hear your origin story, so to speak. So what do you find most exciting about owning your own cat cafe? Your first business too. That's another question that I have.
So I many years ago when I was younger, I had a record store in Miami Beach.
Nice.
I've had a lot of failed businesses as well, and I'm really proud of mentioning that because you learn a lot when you fail.
Absolutely.
And it's not always successful. You know what I mean?
Yes.
I also my husband owns a local boxing gym in town. And I've obviously helped with that from the beginning, helping with social media, et cetera, like, the programs that are used for the memberships, et cetera. And then for many years, for over 10 years, I worked in the skydiving industry as a skydiver. That's what brought me to Deland.
Oh my gosh, that is so cool. That is so cool. Wow.
It was totally different. But I managed for a company in Deland that's specifically for skydivers.
Okay.
So I was already, getting working into a lot of different realms, I guess you could say. But all of that experience helps. There's certain things that I do now that I did when I was managing in the skydiving industry that I can now apply when I'm managing things at the cat cafe, believe it or not, so.
Yes, I absolutely believe it. That's one of the things that I mentioned in my book when that even though like I kind of went all over the place, like, and I wasn't really successful in my previous jobs, like I still learned stuff that I can apply today. That's absolutely 100% true. Yeah, that's great. That is such good advice. Do you you guys do your cat cafe a little bit differently? You actually have like spay and neuter clinics, don't you, at yours?
We don't have a spay and neuter clinic.
Okay.
Unfortunately, not at ours.
Okay.
I do. So I believe a lot in TNR. if you
Yes.
really want to help cats, you need to 100% help
Mm-hmm.
out with that. And it's all volunteer based.
Yes.
We don't have any like TNR groups right now in the city of Deland. Everything is
Okay.
unincorporated Volusia County, but the city doesn't have much going on.
Okay.
So the unincorporated Volusia County, they have animal services, which is awesome. They have a van and they go out to
Mm,
different places. And so I promote that
got it.
because it helps not just people who are doing trapping to get low cost spay and neuter, but it just
Mm-hmm.
helps also people who are helping out their neighbors, like what I used to do. And
Mm-hmm.
you know what I'm saying? Like get the
Mm-hmm.
low cost vaccinations and just also to encourage people to keep going. Because what I find is a lot of people don't go to the vet. They don't take their animals to the vet because it's so expensive. So I'm like,
Right.
these are your low cost options. So I'm always
Right.
promoting um, animal services because they have like the van that kind of goes around.
Wow.
So I promote that.
Have they
But
ever been at your place? Like, have they ever parked in front of the
no,
cat
because my
cafe?
parking
Oh.
lot is too small right now.
Oh, gotcha. Gotcha. I
They go to
understand.
like the big strip. I'm not in a strip mall. I'm in a an actual our own building.
Got it. Okay.
That used to be a restaurant, an old school diner, believe it or not, that
Mm-hmm.
was there for maybe over 20 years, and we took it over.
Nice.
So we don't have that big of a parking lot for that. But I do support all the local TNR. There is a group that's starting now in the city of Deland because it's such a problem. So I
Wow.
support them as well. And it's just that's the number one way if you want to help cats in your city getting involved, supporting TNR volunteers. It's so
Mm-hmm.
important. Yeah.
Right, 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 right. So, do you work with the rescue locally, or are you the rescue for your cat cafe? Like, how does that work for your business?
So I'm not the rescue. I
Hmm.
work with the rescues.
Okay.
Um,
Do you work with
and
multiple or just one?
yes, so I work
Okay.
with multiple. Basically, after I decided, okay, this is what I want to do, I went and I spoke with different owners of cat cafes that were in closer to me, like maybe Orlando. You know, that was really the closest. There was
Yeah.
one in Port Orange, which is my county, Volusia, and they
Hmm.
didn't survive. They ended up closing, so I
Right,
didn't
because
get
of
to
the
speak with
pandemic,
them.
right?
So basically, one of the things that I had learned was to basically not just be with one rescue in the area,
Right.
to have make sure you have enough cats and support. And so
Yeah.
that's exactly what I did. And
Okay.
in Volusia County, where I am specifically, once I started, meeting people in that world, I
Yeah.
knew already that my city, my town, Deland, has a no-kill rescue that's
Okay.
very small. And so
Okay.
I had already interacted with them. I mean, even when my daughter was in the Girl Scouts,
Mm.
we went there to volunteer for a day.
Oh.
And I really liked them because they took out all the kennels out and they have an actual cat room. So I
Oh,
was like,
good.
this is who I want to partner up with.
Yeah.
But then I also learned through just working side by side with animal services that our main shelter, okay, is going to be Halifax Humane Society. They
Hmm.
don't say no to any cat or dog, tarantula, rabbit. Doesn't matter if it's sick. Doesn't
Wow.
matter the age. Anytime animal services gets animals, it goes there. Everything
Okay.
gets surrendered to them. So
Okay.
they're the biggest ones. And I went and obviously I work with them as well. And
Okay. Are
it's
they a kill shelter?
they
Just curious.
are. They
Okay.
are.
So you try
They
and
are.
rescue the ones that are in
Exactly.
good shape. Yes.
Exactly. But they
That's
give me
amazing.
at times they'll give me their hardest cats, believe it
Really?
or not, because
Oh,
once the cats they start scratching or biting, put in isolation. And
yeah.
once that keeps happening, guess what, they're getting on that euthanasia list, and they'll
Yeah.
give me a call and say, do you want to try? And I am like, yes. And I see
Mm-hmm.
that transform in my space. I mean,
Yes.
I've had some people who come to my space, they remember that cut. They'll be like, oh, how's Dexter doing? He was
Yeah.
so mean and scary, and now look at him. And
Yeah.
I love getting the updates from the adopters, and I pass it on to the customers and show them. And those are my success stories.
That's amazing.
That I work with those two. They're very different types. One's a shelter, one's a rescue. One's small, one's very large, and
Mm-hmm.
there's different types of cats.
Mm-hmm.
But yes, I work with more than one. Sorry, that
That's
was the
amazing. I love
the
that.
answer you
No, no,
needed.
no. That's the type of information that our listeners are going to want to hear.
Yeah.
So thank you for sharing that. And Do you have actually do you have a cafe? Do you run the cafe on your side as well?
So one of the things that I did when
Mhm.
I decided that I wanted to do this, other than reading your book, which was amazing,
Oh, thank you.
was work in the restaurant industry because I've done so many things. I've jumped out of planes, but I've never done that. And I was like, I
Yeah.
need to go out there and work. So I got a couple of jobs working and I was terrible. I mean, I was just so bad at it.
Hmm.
I mean, one time I was working at this coffee shop and I served coffee that wasn't even hot enough. It was bad. Okay. It was really
Oops.
bad. So I knew immediately that I needed to focus on what I was good on,
Right.
what I believe I'm good at, which is the
Hmm.
adoption, being with the cats and all of that,
Hmm.
socializing them. So I partnered up with a local coffee shop in town because I mean, it's really important to kind of know your city and know
Yes.
what's needed. Okay. So like
Hmm.
in Deland, we were like really ignored for so long. We didn't have a Starbucks. We didn't have a Chick-fil-A. We don't have
Hmm.
a Target still. It's so small town. You have to go to Orlando or Daytona to get any of those things. That's more
Wow.
corporate.
Yeah.
So a local entrepreneur family, they were the first ones to start the coffee shop. And so I went to them with the idea and they're like, what is that? What are you talking about? And
Yeah.
so I was like, okay, go to certain cat cafes and check them out. And so they came back to me and they said, we are doing this.
Oh,
This
that's
will be a
great.
hit. We get it. This is
Yes.
awesome.
Yes.
So our building was like I mentioned, a diner for over 20 years in our
Hmm.
town.
Hmm.
Um, and so the family had decided they had three diners actually in Volusia County, and they decided, you know what, we're just going to have one, and that's it. So we took over the building. So the building is bought. And so we redid it. And part of that was getting it up to code. And
Right.
so we just had a hurricane, and I felt super safe for the cats there because it's brand new roof, new hurricane
Nice.
back windows, new wiring, which was really important because there
Wow.
had been another rescue, unfortunately, that also was in an older building, and they
Yeah.
had a fire because of bad wiring.
Oh,
Um,
that's
so
horrible.
yeah, so I really was able to put all that knowledge and research that I did to kind of
Hmm.
figure out how best to have this space. So
Hmm.
they own and operate one half of the building, which is the restaurant.
Hmm.
It's a, full service restaurant, breakfast, lunch, awesome coffee shop. And then
Hmm.
I own and operate the other side, which is a cat adoption lounge, basically.
Nice.
And
Nice.
together we're the Deland Cat Cafe.
That's amazing. There you go. That's another like creative way to kind of get around, like um all of the requirements, right? And all of the just the regulations that you have to follow, and you don't have to even worry about that. You've got a partner with you that's gonna
Yeah.
that's gonna help you out with that piece, and you can just focus on saving the animals, which is your goal. So that's amazing. That is so wonderful. Um, what's one of the most important lessons that you've learned in business that you'd like to share with us?
I think the most important part is, first of all, I'm all about just trying to protect my mental health. I do a
Amen,
lot.
sister.
With the cat adoption lounge, I don't have employees. I do everything from
Oh my
the
goodness, wow.
clean up in the morning to clean up in the afternoon, the adoption.
Wow.
I do absolutely everything. Um, and I don't have volunteers. I'm not a nonprofit, you
Hmm.
know. Um,
Me neither.
and
Yeah.
so I have to be really careful with my time, but most important,
Yes.
my mental health, because I do care very much. And every time someone brings me a cat, I have to learn to say no. I have to learn to
Hmm.
say no, and I'm not the rescue.
Yeah.
And one of the things that I do in my website, I have a FAQs page,
Hmm.
FAQs page, and on there I have every single question that anyone's going to ask me.
Right.
I found a cat. What do I do? I found a kitten. Who do I call? Everything is on there, and I
Yeah.
just very nicely try to refer people to that.
Hmm.
Um, because I just can't, and I have to be okay with accepting that fact that I'm not going to be able to help every single cat, unfortunately. This
Hmm.
doing the best that I can with what I've got.
Yep.
And that's okay.
And it's amazing. And what you're doing is amazing. And that's really, really, really good advice. So I 100% agree that you have to put your mental health first. And you're not going to be able to save every cat, but you're going to do the best that you can. And that's all that anybody can ask.
Yes, that's it. That's all that we can do. If you're already thinking about doing this, it's obviously because you love cats, you love animals, you're an animal person, but sometimes, with big hearts like this, we have to be very protective.
Absolutely. Absolutely. 100%. 100%. Thank you for sharing that. And my last question for you is, what's your advice for those that are interested in starting a cat cafe?
You don't have to have the cat cafe to already start getting involved in your community and helping. There's a lot of times when people approach me and I'm asking them questions about local rescues, what's happening in their town, is there a TNR program, all this stuff, and they have no clue. They have never even gotten into that part of it, and that's a huge part. Because the support is going to first come from those animal lovers. And then little by little, you will have instances of maybe you have a sick cat. Maybe you need a local resource. Who are the vets that you're going to turn to, et cetera. Like that's how I knew like the needs of one rescue versus the local shelter. How can I help? Because at least with my intention, the reason why I wanted to do this was to help what was already there, the rescues that are already there. I'm not trying to compete with them. I'm trying to help them. So in order for me to do that, I needed to know them. I needed to know their needs, the regions that they operate, the other regions where this one operates, et cetera. It's a whole world, and you gotta know that. And you don't need to have the cat cafe to start doing that.
To start helping. Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. And I love that.
That's going to help you tremendously. By the time you open your doors, you're going to have all that knowledge and that support from that community.
That's beautiful. That's amazing. Well, Debbie, thank you so much for all this information. We have learned so much about your beautiful business and your, your advice on for people to get started in their own cat cafe. If anybody wants to visit, because they should visit your cat cafe, where can they find you?
DelandCatCafe.com. I try to be as much on all social media that I can be. It's at Deland Cat Cafe. So yeah, I'm there on social media. If you want to contact me, just send me an email. Really, that's the best way. I've got phone too, but it's very hard to call everybody back. But definitely an email, and come visit me. I'd love for people to come visit. So thank you.
That's fantastic. Well, thank you so much for being on the show today. I really appreciate you taking the time to talk to us today about your amazing business. And thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for listening to today's episode of the Drinks and Whiskers podcast. If you enjoyed it, please take a moment to like this episode, subscribe, and leave an honest review. If you want more information, you can purchase the Drinks and Whiskers book right now on Amazon.com, or you can reach me at Angeli@wittywhisker.com. Now it's time to get out there and start your cat cafe dream. How will you warm hearts with a drink and a whisker?